Welcome to our deep dive into The One Thing by Gary Keller and Papasan.
Oh, this is a good one.
It is, right.
Yeah.
We're going to unpack, kind of the core ideas
Yeah.
and see how focusing on, that one thing can help you achieve some pretty extraordinary results.
I like how this book, it takes like these really simple concepts, but turns them into this really practical guide for success.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about identifying the right actions and then executing them,
Right.
like with laser focus.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about getting things done, but it's about getting the right things done.
Right off the bat, the book dives into this idea of like the power of one.
Mm-hmm.
And it uses these really compelling examples like Colonel Sanders and his like singular focus on perfecting his chicken recipe.
Oh, yeah.
Really makes you think, like, could one single thing really be the driving force behind massive success?
Keller and Papasan, they argue that it absolutely can. I mean, look at the Adolf Coors Company. For years, they only produced a single beer.
Wow.
And that laser focus, it helped them dominate their market and eventually, become a global brand.
Huh?
It's about finding that one crucial element that drives everything else forward.
But it's not just about business, though, is it?
Right.
This idea of the one thing,
Yeah.
it applies to, like, our personal lives, too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Each of us has, like, this unique skill or passion, something we excel at, something that brings us joy, That's your one thing.
That's it.
And the book encourages you to really think about what that is for you.
Yeah.
What makes you stand out?
Sure.
What do you love doing? That's your starting point.
Okay, so we've identified our one thing that's like core passion or skill.
Right.
What's next? How do we actually harness its power?
That's where the concept of the domino effect comes in.
Okay.
Picture this. A single domino falls and
Right.
sets off this chain reaction,
Yeah.
toppling thousands, maybe even millions of others.
That's the power of focusing on the right action.
So they actually use a real-life domino experiment to illustrate this right.
Yeah.
Like one with millions of dominoes.
Yeah, there's this experiment by Ouija's Domino Productions.
Okay.
And the energy released from that single falling domino was astounding.
Wow.
And the book uses this to show how identifying and focusing on your like first domino, that crucial initial action,
Yeah.
can unleash this cascade of positive outcomes.
So it's not just about taking any action.
Yeah.
It's about finding the action that sets everything else in motion.
Right.
It's about leverage.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about finding those actions that create momentum and like propel you forward.
Yeah.
But there's a catch.
Okay.
We often get tripped up by what the book calls the 6 lies between you and success.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are like those sneaky misconceptions that keep us from truly focusing on our one thing.
So these lies are like these productivity traps, aren't they? Things we tell ourselves.
That actually hold us back.
Yeah.
Okay, let's break them down.
Okay.
Starting with the first one. The lie that everything matters equally.
This is a trap so many of us fall into, right? We try to do it all, be everything to everyone,
Oh, yeah.
and end up feeling overwhelmed and burnt out.
Yeah.
The One Thing debunks this myth by highlighting the 80-20 rule, also known as Pareto's principle.
Okay.
This rule states that roughly 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts.
So it's not about working harder, but about working smarter.
Exactly.
It's about identifying and focusing on those like crucial 20% activities.
Yeah.
That's where like prioritization becomes key, right?
Absolutely. And that leads us to the second lie, multitasking.
Multitasking.
Yeah, we often wear our ability to juggle multiple tasks as a badge of honor, but research shows that it's actually a myth.
Really?
Yeah, multitasking makes us less efficient, not more.
I've definitely fallen into that trap before.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to do a million things at once and ending up making more mistakes.
Yeah.
And taking longer to get things done.
What we call multitasking is actually task switching.
Oh.
We're rapidly shifting our focus back and forth between different activities.
Okay.
And each time we switch, there's this hidden cost in terms of time and mental energy.
So it's not about doing more.
Oh.
It's about doing less,
Yes.
but doing it better.
Exactly.
I like that.
Now, the third lie might surprise you. The belief that you need a disciplined life to be successful.
But don't we need discipline to achieve anything worthwhile?
Discipline is important.
Yeah.
But the one thing argues that you don't need to be disciplined in every area of your life to achieve extraordinary things.
Okay.
They use the example of Michael Phelps,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
the most decorated Olympian of all time.
Right. Phelps, he wasn't like a model student or a perfectly disciplined individual
Right.
in like all aspects of his life.
But he was incredibly disciplined about his one thing.
Swimming.
Swimming, yes.
Yeah.
He honed his skills and focused his energy on becoming the best swimmer he could be. Yeah.
And that laser focus led him to unprecedented success.
This is encouraging.
Right.
It means you don't need to be like a superhero of self-control
Right.
to achieve your goals.
Yeah.
You just need to be strategic about where you direct your discipline.
That brings us to the fourth lie.
Yeah.
The idea that willpower is always on will call.
Okay.
It's easy to think that we can simply summon willpower whenever we need it.
Yeah.
But research shows that that's not the case.
This is where that like famous marshmallow test comes in, right?
Exactly.
The one where they tempt kids with marshmallows to see if they can resist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That experiment, as adorable as it is, reveals this like fundamental truth about willpower.
Yeah.
It's a finite resource.
Okay.
It gets depleted with use.
So instead of viewing willpower as something we can just like switch on and off,
Right.
we need to manage it strategically.
Exactly. It's about understanding your own willpower patterns and scheduling your most important tasks for times when your willpower is highest. This is good stuff.
Now, lie number 5, the pursuit of a perfectly balanced life.
Ah, yes. The elusive work-life balance.
We're all striving for it.
We are.
But is it really achievable?
You know, the book really does challenge this notion, doesn't it?
It does.
It argues that the pursuit of perfect balance can actually prevent us from achieving like extraordinary results.
Right.
So it's not about being equally good at everything.
No.
It's about like strategically counterbalancing your life.
Right. So instead of spreading ourselves thin trying to be good at everything, we should accept that there will be times when our one thing needs to take center stage.
This makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's about accepting that life isn't about achieving like perfect balance at all times,
Right.
but about finding a rhythm
Yeah.
that works for you.
Exactly. And finally, the 6th lie that the one thing debunks
Okay.
is the idea that big is bad.
Oh, tell me about this.
We're often taught to be realistic, to temper our ambitions. But this book encourages us to do the opposite.
It's about embracing like big, audacious goals.
Yes.
It's about pushing beyond what we think is possible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The book highlights individuals who achieved remarkable things by thinking big. Bill Gates,
Okay.
Sabir Bhatia of Hotmail,
Wow.
the founders of impactful nonprofits,
Yeah.
they all dared to dream big
Yeah.
and saw those dreams come to fruition.
I like this.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that our potential is often far greater than we realize.
Than we give ourselves credit for.
But how do we translate these like big dreams into concrete actions?
That's a great question.
Where do we even begin?
That's where the focusing question comes in.
Okay.
It's a powerful tool for prioritizing and achieving your one thing. It's simple, but it's profound.
Okay.
This question cuts through the noise and helps you identify the actions that truly matter.
I'm intrigued. Give us the exact wording of this focusing question.
Okay, so the general form is, what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary?
Wow, that's a good one.
It really makes you think.
It does. Yeah, what about when you need to prioritize in the moment?
Okay, well then you use the right now version. What's my one thing right now?
So this question can be applied to anything, from major life decisions to like seemingly mundane everyday tasks.
Absolutely.
The focusing question is all about finding leverage, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about identifying the actions that will have the greatest impact.
Exactly. And once you've identified that key action, that one thing, you need a strategy for making it happen.
Yeah.
And that's where time blocking comes in.
Time blocking.
One of the most powerful productivity tools out there.
I've heard about time blocking, but I've never actually like tried it.
Okay, sure.
What's the basic idea?
It's simple, but incredibly effective. You block out specific time on your calendar for your most important work, treating it like an unbreakable appointment with yourself.
Okay.
And the one thing emphasizes scheduling time for your one thing first,
Okay.
before anything else each day, when your willpower is highest.
So instead of trying to squeeze it in whenever you have a free moment,
Yeah.
you make it a non-negotiable part of your schedule.
Right.
It becomes a priority, not an afterthought.
Precisely. The book highlights examples of how successful people, like Stephen King, who has a very consistent writing routine,
Mm-hmm.
use time blocking to achieve incredible results.
It's starting to click for me now
Yeah.
how all of these concepts kind of work together.
Yeah.
Identifying your one thing, using the focusing question,
Right?
and then leveraging time blocking to actually make it happen.
Yeah.
But there's more to it than that, though, isn't there?
There is.
The one thing also talks about 3 essential commitments we need to make.
You're absolutely right. These commitments are like the fuel that powers the engine of the one thing.
Okay, I like that.
The first commitment is to follow the path of mastery.
Okay, tell me more about this path of mastery.
Sure.
What does it involve?
It's about dedicating yourself to continuous improvement in your one thing.
Okay.
It's not just about achieving a goal,
Right.
but about constantly striving to, refine your skills,
Mm-hmm.
deepen your knowledge, and become truly exceptional in that one area.
So it's about embracing a growth mindset, always looking for ways to improve
Yes.
and push yourself further.
Exactly. And the book emphasizes how mastery in one area can often transfer to other areas of your life.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the skills and discipline you develop in pursuing your one thing can actually benefit you in other areas as well.
Absolutely. Now, the second commitment is to move from E to P.
Okay, I have to admit I'm a bit lost on that one.
Okay, no problem.
What do E and P stand for?
E stands for entrepreneurial action. It's about working comfortably within your existing knowledge and skill set.
So it's about doing what you already know how to do.
Right.
Okay, what about P?
P stands for purposeful action.
Okay.
This is where you push beyond your comfort zone.
All right.
It's about seeking new knowledge, developing new skills, and constantly challenging yourself to grow.
So it's about evolving from like a comfortable, familiar approach
Yeah.
to a more like intentional, growth-oriented mindset.
Yes.
It's about pushing yourself to become the best version of yourself.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final commitment,
Oh,
living the accountability cycle.
the accountability cycle.
This is about taking complete ownership of your outcomes.
So it's about holding yourself responsible
Yeah.
for the results you achieve, whether they're good or bad.
Precisely. And it's about seeking out accountability from others.
Okay.
Find a mentor, a peer, or ideally a coach who can provide honest feedback and support.
That makes a lot of sense. Having someone to keep you accountable can make a huge difference.
It does.
Yeah.
Absolutely. These 3 commitments, mastery, purposeful action, and accountability.
Yeah.
They form the foundation for achieving extraordinary results with the one thing.
I like it. This has been a great overview of the core principles.
Yeah.
It's clear that the one thing offers this powerful framework
Yeah.
for achieving success.
Mhm.
But the journey doesn't end here, does it?
It does not.
There are always obstacles and distractions that can
Yeah.
derail our focus
Mm.
and hinder our progress.
You're right. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore those obstacles,
Okay.
the 4 thieves of productivity that the book outlines.
Okay. Sounds good.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into the one thing.
So in the last part, we uncovered the power of identifying and focusing on your one thing.
Right.
We even debunked some common misconceptions about success.
We did?
We also talked about the importance of asking the focusing question, blocking out time for that one thing
Right.
and committing to mastery, purposeful action, accountability. That's
Right.
a lot to take in,
It is.
but also incredibly empowering, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
But, the path to success, it's rarely a straight line.
Right.
There are always obstacles and distractions along the way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And that's where the one thing's concept of the 4 thieves of productivity comes in. These are those sneaky culprits that steal our time, our energy, and our focus, often without us even realizing it.
They're sneaky.
They are me.
Yeah.
Think of them as roadblocks on your path to achieving extraordinary results.
Okay, I'm all ears.
All right.
Let's expose these productivity thieves one by one.
Okay.
What's the first one we should be on the lookout for?
The first thief, and perhaps the most common one, is the inability to say no.
Oh, the dreaded no.
Think about it. How many times have you said yes to something when you really wanted to say no?
Too many count.
Whether it's a request from a colleague, an invitation to an event, or even just an extra task added to your to-do list,
Yeah.
saying yes can feel like the path of least resistance.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's especially hard for people pleasers,
Oh,
to
absolutely.
turn down requests.
Right.
You want to be helpful and supportive, but, overcommitting can really backfire
It
in
can.
the long run.
Exactly. And the one thing emphasizes that saying yes to everything is essentially saying no to your one thing.
It's true.
Every time you commit to something new, you're diverting time and energy away from what truly matters.
It's like, it's like having a leaky bucket.
Ooh, I like that.
You can keep pouring water in, but if there are holes, you'll never fill it up.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, we need to plug those leaks, those commitments that drain our time and energy, so we can focus on filling our bucket, our one thing, to the brim.
The book uses the example of Steve Jobs, who famously slashed Apple's product line from 350 to just 10
Wow.
after his return in 1997.
Yeah.
He understood that saying no to most things allowed them to say yes to a select few.
Yeah.
And those few products became some of the most iconic and successful in history.
It's a good reminder that no isn't a negative word.
It's not.
It's a powerful tool for protecting your time and energy.
Yeah.
And staying focused on what truly matters.
So if saying no is the first thief,
Yeah.
what's the second one that can sabotage our productivity?
Good question. What is it?
The second thief is the fear of chaos.
Oh, chaos.
Yeah, so when we're deeply focused on our one thing,
Yeah.
other areas of our life might temporarily, fall behind.
It's true.
Maybe the laundry piles up.
Happened all the time.
Emails go unanswered.
Oh, yeah.
Other tasks get put on hold.
It can be unsettling,
Yeah.
especially for people who thrive on order and organization. It can feel like everything's like spiraling out of control.
Exactly. But the one thing argues that chaos is often an inevitable part of pursuing extraordinary results.
Good.
It's about accepting that some things will need to take a back seat
Yeah.
while you're laser focused on your priority.
So it's not about becoming like a master of chaos.
No.
But about like accepting a certain level of disarray
Right.
as like a natural byproduct of pursuing something big and meaningful.
Think of it this way.
Okay.
Imagine you're renovating your kitchen.
Ooh, I like this.
There's going to be a period of, mess and disruption while the work is being done.
Yeah.
But once it's finished, you'll have this beautiful upgraded kitchen that you can enjoy for years to come.
And you'll have, survived the chaos.
Right. And the same goes for pursuing your one thing.
Okay.
The success you achieve from that focus will far outweigh the temporary discomfort of a little chaos in other areas of your life.
It's about perspective, right?
It is.
Yes.
All right, on to thief number 3.
Okay, Amy.
The third thief is poor health habits.
Oh, yeah.
It's about recognizing that your physical and mental well-being are foundational to your productivity.
That makes sense.
When you're sleep deprived,
Mm-hmm.
stressed out, or neglecting your health, your productivity suffers.
It's like trying to run a marathon on an empty stomach.
Yes.
You might start strong,
Right.
but you'll quickly run out of steam.
The one thing emphasizes that personal energy mismanagement is a silent killer of productivity.
I like that.
You wouldn't expect a car to run without fuel, would you?
No,
Well, your body and mind are the same way.
that's true.
You need to fuel them properly.
Yes.
With sleep, nutritious food, and regular exercise.
It's a reminder that self-care isn't selfish.
It's not.
It's an essential ingredient for achieving sustainable success.
Absolutely. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Nope.
Taking care of yourself is crucial for sustaining those high levels of energy and focus.
All right, let's talk about that fourth and final thief of productivity.
Okay, the fourth thief is an unsupportive environment.
Oh.
This is about the people and spaces we surround ourselves with.
Yeah.
If you're constantly bombarded with distractions or negativity, it's going to be incredibly difficult to stay focused on your one thing.
Makes sense. This is where the idea of like being mindful of your social network comes in, right?
Yes.
Surround yourself with people who uplift and inspire you.
Mm-hmm.
People who support your goals
Yes.
and believe in your vision.
Exactly. The book encourages readers to cultivate a supportive environment, both physically and socially.
I like that.
That might mean decluttering your workspace,
Okay.
setting boundaries with distracting colleagues,
Yeah.
or seeking out mentors and peers who encourage your growth.
It's about creating a space,
Yes.
both internally and externally,
Mm-hmm.
that allows your one thing To flourish.
To thrive,
Yeah.
to blossom.
But the one thing doesn't stop at, like, achieving success, does it?
No, it doesn't.
It also talks about living a life of no regrets.
You're right. It encourages readers to think beyond, immediate goals and consider the legacy they want to leave behind.
Yeah.
It's about making choices that align with your values and pursuing a path that leaves you feeling fulfilled and satisfied, not filled with, what ifs and should haves.
I remember the book shares a powerful story.
Does it?
About a father and son.
Okay.
And it really, stuck with me. It's the one about the boy who, puts the world back together, right?
Yes. The boy is given this puzzle, this torn-up picture of the world.
Yeah.
And he seems so overwhelmed by the tasks.
The big task.
Right.
Yeah.
But then he notices this image of a man on the back of the puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
And he focuses on putting the man together first.
And when he does that,
yeah,
the world falls into place.
It's such a beautiful metaphor, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It highlights how focusing on the essential element, the one thing, can make even the most complex challenges feel manageable.
It's about finding that one key piece.
Yes.
That unlocks the solution.
That's it.
And this principle, it can be applied to so many areas of our lives.
Absolutely. The one thing encourages us to apply this approach to our relationships, our careers, our personal goals, and even our communities.
Wow.
It provides examples of focusing questions tailored to different areas, empowering you to find your one thing in every aspect of your life.
It's about living intentionally.
Yes.
Making choices that align with our values and lead us towards a life that feels truly meaningful and fulfilling.
Right. It's about choosing the path that minimizes future regrets.
Yeah.
And speaking of regrets, the book also delves into the top 5 regrets of the dying, which can be, a real wake-up call.
It can be.
Do you remember what they are?
I do. The most common regret was wishing they'd had the courage to live a life true to themselves.
Yeah.
Not the life others expected of them.
Right.
And other common regrets included not staying in touch with friends, working too hard, not expressing their feelings, and not letting themselves be happier.
These are incredibly poignant, aren't they?
They are. They really are.
They remind us to prioritize what truly matters. Our relationships, our passions, our well-being.
It's a reminder that life is short.
It is.
And precious.
Yeah.
And that we should make the most of it each and every day.
The one thing encourages us to use our time wisely, to make choices that align with our values, and move us towards a life that feels authentic and purposeful.
This has been a great discussion so far, so insightful. We've covered so much ground, from, the core principles to practical strategies, and even touched on, the deeper meaning of living a life of no regrets.
It has been a fascinating journey through the key takeaways from this incredibly powerful book.
But remember, this is just the beginning. The real transformation happens when you take these ideas and apply them to your own life.
Right. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore some of those practical strategies, including specific focusing questions tailored to different areas of life.
Excellent.
Stay with us.
It's amazing how the one thing connects achieving success with living a life without regrets.
Yeah.
It's not just about, checking things off a to-do list.
Right.
It's about creating a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling.
Exactly. It's about aligning your actions with your values, making choices that you can look back on with pride, not with a sense of what if or should have.
And speaking of putting things into practice,
the
book doesn't just stop at inspiring anecdotes and thought-provoking concepts. It actually gives you the tools to apply these ideas to your own life.
You're right. The one thing provides practical guidance in the form of specific focusing questions tailored to different areas of life. These questions help you pinpoint your priorities and uncover your one thing in various contexts.
So, for example, in our personal lives, it suggests asking questions like, what's the one thing we can do this week to improve our marriage? Or what's the one thing we can do every week to spend more quality family time together?
Yeah, these questions force you to cut through the clutter and identify those actions that will have the biggest impact on your relationships.
It's about being intentional with your time and energy.
Right.
Especially when it comes to, the people who matter most.
Absolutely.
And then in our professional lives, We can use questions like, what's the one thing I can do today to complete my current project ahead of schedule?
Okay.
Or what's the one thing I can do this month to produce, better work?
By asking these targeted questions, you're essentially using the focusing question as a lens to clarify your priorities and identify the most leverageable actions you can take.
It's about working smarter, not just harder.
Exactly.
By focusing on the activities that will truly move the needle.
Move the needle. I like that.
But it's not just about individual effort, though, is it?
Right.
The one thing also talks about creating a one-thing culture within teams and organizations.
Absolutely. Imagine a workplace where everyone is aligned around a shared one thing.
That would be amazing.
Right. Where every meeting, every project, every decision is filtered through the lens of the focusing question.
Yeah, the book suggests, incorporating the focusing question into team meetings.
Okay.
And strategic planning sessions.
Yeah.
So, for example, instead of just diving into an agenda, start by asking, what's the one thing we can accomplish in this meeting and end early?
That simple question can transform a meeting from a time waster into a productivity powerhouse.
I love that.
Yeah.
It forces everyone to focus on, the outcome.
Right.
To identify, the most important goal. Yep. And then to work collaboratively.
Right.
To achieve it.
That's teamwork.
Or when building a team. You can ask, what's the one thing I can do in the next 6 months to find and develop incredible talent?
Okay.
That becomes your guiding principle for recruitment and development efforts.
And this approach can be applied at all levels of an organization, from individual contributors all the way up to the CEO.
It's really inspiring to think about the ripple effect that a one-thing culture could have.
It is.
It has the potential to transform not just individual lives,
right,
but entire organizations.
It's about creating that shared sense of purpose, a collective commitment to achieving something extraordinary.
This has been, I think, a really great deep dive into the one thing.
I agree.
We've covered so much, from the core principles to practical strategies, and even touched on the deeper meaning of living a life of no regrets.
It has been a fascinating journey through the key takeaways from this incredibly powerful book.
So I think, as we wrap up, for our listeners out there, what stood out to you the most from our discussion of the one thing? What resonated with you? What's one small action you can take right now to put these ideas into practice?
Remember, a life of no regrets often means saying yes to your one thing and no to the distractions that keep you from it.
That's good stuff.
Embrace the power of focus. Ask the right questions and watch extraordinary results unfold.